Hello folks, something special for you today. A little Aliner care and upkeep. I've talked in the past about all the parts that are caulked on the Aliner, especially around the windows and around the sides, the edges, the fronts. I was looking at this part right here, this plastic piece that's on the corner, and I noticed that this is no longer connected. It's not glued down by caulk. So I look inside the cargo bay that's inside here, open the door and look in there, and there is obvious signs of water staining on the wood in there. So I've missed caulking this, recaulking this, and taking care of it. So we're going to take it apart and see if the damage is severe or what it's like in there. So let me get a screwdriver and we'll get busy dismantling this. Just to make this go a little faster, I already took the screws out of this corner, and this comes right out. These are square drive screws, as everything on this stupid trailer is. Square drive screws are normally used in Canada. They're very popular there. They're a very good screw because they're so much stronger than Phillips head, but who in the US has a square drive screwdriver? Luckily, I do. But anyways, there's a screw at the top up here and a screw at the bottom down here, and then you have to take this side marker light off. This little guy here. And again, if I look at these things, really the caulking is pretty dried and old and cracked, and I'm surprised the whole trailer isn't full of water. But anyways, we look at this. I'm going to put this aside, and what I'll do with this is I'll clean up all this old caulk, and you know, it peels right off. I'll clean it up and wash it good and see if it needs any rebending with a little bit of heat from a heat gun, and then I'll put it back on when we get finished with the wood repair, if there is any. I have some. This looks pretty bad, but really it's not that bad. It's got a little caulking that is fungalized, but the wood's still good. Hey, give me my tip. Something better. But the wood is still good and hard. There's a lot of caulk here to take off, and I'm gonna just caulk this to death. Probably more caulk than they put in the factory, which I have some old chisels here that I'm going to use to kind of clean this up with. And I think somebody who runs a Facebook page might tell you have to take this all apart and redo the whole thing, rebuild it and all that. I'm not going to go that far, because it sounds like way too much work, and there's potential to get into other problems that won't be right. So we're just going to clean this up, seal it up, and put it back together. This repair may not last 2 or 3 years, but for me that's all right. I can come back and do it again, or I can have it repaired professionally if I wanted to. This is all old caulk, and it's on this cloth that is the hinge inside. We'll get all that old caulk off. We'll clean this up with some acetone, and we'll put it back together. So I have taken the corner piece off, got this exposed, and now I'm cleaning this up, and I'm using alcohol. I have a spray head on alcohol because that's what I have, and I don't think it'll hurt the existing caulk. And I'm using a steel wool, coarse steel wool pad, not a soapy steel wool pad, but just a plain paint finishing steel wool pad, so that I can get most of the stuff off and scuff it up a little bit for the new caulk and adhesive, so it seals it well and adheres well, and it cleans it up pretty good. I could use acetone for this cleaning, but that would mean I'd have to wipe, and it also would mean that there's a risk of fire with all this heat and sunshine out here. So I like the alcohol. Once the dirt's off, you see a lot more caulk to remove. So coming back with the scraper, which is pretty dangerous to use a sharp scraper. The recommended process is to use a plastic scraper, but I'm pretty careful. I did move the trailer around so it's more in the sun, so it bakes some of that water out of it. It's still a little soft and a little damp. Hopefully that'll clear over time. I don't know. I'm not going to take the whole thing apart and rebuild it like some people might. I need to go camping this weekend. I've removed these 3 screws that were on this side because they were all rusted up and they weren't holding anything. Unscrewing them didn't work. I had to pull them out with a little tiny pry bar. And now I'm taking a tapered drill bit and I'm making the holes a little bigger. And I'm going to put a bigger fatter screw in there. First I'm going to take some toothpicks and some Gorilla Glue, dip the toothpicks in the Gorilla Glue and stick them in there and wait for that to harden up. And that'll give me a nice firm attachment point for the screws to bite into. And hopefully the Gorilla Glue will get into the wet wood, because Gorilla Glue is really good on wet wood. So that's what I'm doing on that side, so it doesn't hold the edge corner piece out away and not get a good seal again. By the way, never buy anything but round toothpicks, because they're so easily usable in woodworking requirements. And you just push these in there and break them off so they're even with the top. And since toothpicks are hardwood, they really hold pretty strong. If you do it right, you can use one toothpick twice. Pound them in a little bit and cut them off. All right, we'll let that foam up for about 15 or 20 minutes, and then we'll drive the screws in it while it's still soft, so the screw is actually glued in and holds well. And I gotta change my gloves. All right, they have foamed up nicely. So we're gonna put in, I'm using, just to be difficult, I'm using Phillips head screws because that's what I have. I'm using a number 10 screw. I think these were probably a 6 or an 8. So it's a considerably bigger screw. Oops. And that is taking it, that has moved it in a little bit better. Not as much as I'd like, but the wood is pretty soaked and expanded, so I don't expect miracles, but that's a little better. By the way, I always use sheet metal screws. Don't ever use wood screws. They break, they come apart. Drywall screws are the worst. I mean, when you're in a pinch, they're a good screw to have when you need a lot of screws, but I always use sheet metal screws because they're hardened and they hold real well. They look almost the same as wood screws, but sheet metal screws. Pro tip for you. Use me. Ooh, you got the ball. By the way, if you have these little screws that are uncapped, this is supposed to have a screw cap on it, and you can see it way down here at the bottom. Way down here. It's supposed to be covered, and that keeps them from getting wet and rust. And so when they're like this, they're an imperfect screw. So you can take the screw out and put a new one of those on. You can buy those on Amazon, and they come in packages of 16 or 20, I think. And it's a good idea if you're keeping your trailer up, you know. Check all these caulk lines. Make sure you've got, you know, no leakage or anything in there. And check your screws and all that. But don't let those go. That's how I got to where I am. All right. So you gotta love the A-liner. You just push it around the way you want it. I'm moving the back end so it faces the sun, so that it has a little more heat power to dry. This corner is all pretty dry. I mean, it's very dry and very hard and not quite as soft as it was. There's some soft wood still in here, so I'll let it dry another day. And of course, where the foam, this is wood above, and this is all foam below the regular styrofoam walls that are in an A-liner, so it's pretty interesting. We got this all cleaned up, and looks brand new, doesn't it? Look at that. Perfect. I went down to the A-liner dealership that's right near us, and I noticed that now they're using silicone caulk, clear silicone caulk on all the seams and stuff. And I don't know, you know, it's got to have some kind of a UV protector in it, or it doesn't last very long. And it splits off pretty easy and you don't notice it, although actually you do notice it because it grows mold and stuff underneath the silicone. It's not biologic, not anti-fungi or moss or anything, so you can tell pretty well when it's done. So I don't know if that's better or worse, but just a note for if you're changing and you see that how they do the new ones. It's they're now using pure silicone, I think. But we're gonna stick with the Dicor lap sealant, the non-sagging, non-leveling lap sealant. We did the other end, and it looks great today. It's not perfectly edged, but I don't care. I may take a little pizza knife and straighten it up. But we're gonna do this one. I bought some Sikaflex 221 to glue it to that. I'm also going to put screws in it, extra screws, more than it had before. It has 3 screws on the side, but I'm going to put some screws on the back just to hold it so it's stable. And I'm going to use the Sikaflex inside in here to glue it, and then I'm going to Dicor the seams, because the Dicor has a little more stay power. It's more environmental. It's sun resistant, heat resistant. It stays pliable, but it's good waterproof. So we'll do both. We'll show you. Hold on. Okay, so we cut that at an angle, and we're going to make that so it's on the downside, or the mostly downside from the handle, so that I can work it. You do have to punch a hole in it, and by mistake I bought black, but it doesn't really matter because it's going to be inside. But I'm going to put quite a bit on here. And I'm only going up and down because if water gets in here, I want it to get out. So you can get this stuff in any color. Well, white, gray, or black. I'm not sure why I got black. The guy asked me, I was looking at the different tubes, and he asked me what color I wanted. I said, well, it's a black tube. I thought he was talking about the tube color, not the actual stuff. So now we're going to pick that up and put it on. Alright, so this is going to be the tricky part. I have to pick this up, put this on here, screw it in on the sides, and I do have some of these new caps. These are the caps, and way down at the bottom of the bag, of course, is the thing that goes on the screw. And I do have new screws because I'm replacing the screws with a size larger, which is a little tricky. Maybe that's a gamble, but I think I want a size larger screw, and we'll see if this all works. We have the screw with the part on it for the cap. We have the drill. We're ready to go. I have my trusty assistant here with his ball, and we're going to try to do this without making a complete mess of myself. If I was smart, I'd have gloves on, because this stuff is a sticky mess. But we're going to do this just like this. Look at that. Look at that. Go on. Okay. Screw number 1 up here. . In. Oh, looks beautiful. Screw number 2. These are stainless steel screws. Don't know if this is going to work because there is no hole here, and these are not self-tapping. This might cause this to split. Let's drill a hole in the Alright, so we got some holes there. Now let's see if we can put this in there. This seems to be good. We put the caps on these. And they're more or less waterproof. Not really too worried about that because the die core will take care of that. I think I am going to put one screw in here. Well, that's in there tight and it's holding that, so I'm gonna let that go. Before it's completely set, the alcohol takes it off. So the fact that I got it all over the place is not so terrible. For most of it, the die core will cover it up. All right, folks, I'm speeding this up a little bit because this video is getting really long, and I think you've seen me caulk before, so I've already caulked. I always use tape when I caulk because if it spills all over, or the dog jumps on me, or the tube spurts, I always like to have a nice clean caulk line, at least, you know, with the tape. This went on pretty good, so I don't have a lot of caulk on the tape, but when I take the tape off, which it comes off real easy, I have a nice straight caulk line. Now, this die core with a little tiny bit of mineral oil on your finger, baby oil, mineral oil, you can kind of smooth it down and rough it in and stuff it into spots that it needs to. And this is quite thick right here, so it needed to be pushed in there quite a lot. So I've done that already before I took off the tape, and you can see that. Let's get you a little closer here. You can see this is really quite thick, but again, it's got the Sikaflex 221 underneath, and then it's got this on the corners and on the edges. And again, I think the water was probably coming in mostly up here at the very top, so this is well sealed, and all the way down on all the things and on the back side where it needs to be done. So we got a lot of good caulking there, and I think we're done. So if you haven't seen my caulking video, I have another caulking video when I did the windows, so you can search around and find that. I did the windows up on the front, and it worked out pretty well. It stopped the water. I had water down along the bottom of the roof, and the caulking on the roof was really good, but the caulking on the skylights was cracked. So I figured it must have come all the way down the roof to the bottom, which is not a good plan. But again, it's a 2008. They don't last forever, especially if you use them every weekend. And it stays out in the southern sun. It's getting pretty faded and pretty well used. But I love it. I'm going to keep using it. If I can find another one just like it, I'll buy it. And I'll have two of them. I guess that's all I got for you today, folks. I hope that was interesting, helpful if you ever have that same problem. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment on what you thought I did wrong, because I know there's some wrong stuff in there. I know I didn't do it the way I really would have liked to, but I was pressed for time. This really took me 5 days to do this all the different caulking and getting the parts together, getting everything I needed. I had to run to the store 3 or 4 times. I probably should have just bought it all on Amazon at one time, but I changed the screws, I changed the caps, I changed the caulking, the systems, and all sorts of things. So thanks for watching. You put up with me for a whole half an hour. You're my best friends in the world. So subscribe if you haven't. We'll have another video probably in a couple of days, because I'm doing some shorts on the Aliner maintenance. So stay tuned. Bye bye.